All right, so welcome to my review and my thoughts on the entire season of Secret Invasion. We're talking about what is being labeled as being season one, although Marvel have not announced another season of this show, and a lot of these Disney Plus shows only run for one season. Some have multiple seasons, like Loki and What If, but a lot of them, like WandaVision, are just sort of like longer stories than the movies to build up to something else or just to tell a story. And Secret Invasion could be either one. Now, I want to give my thoughts on the season, but before I go any further, I want to warn you that this is going to be for people who have seen it. So if you have not seen Secret Invasion, be careful for spoilers. Also, I'm going to say this before we even go into the spoiler stuff. If you're looking for my thoughts on whether or not you should watch it, to be honest with you, I'm very mixed on this before we go into the spoiler section because there are moments that I did like. There are ideas that I liked. There are aspects of the show that I enjoyed. And obviously, Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn are good actors, even though they don't really get to show off their chops in this show. It wasn't a complete waste of time. So it really does depend on how much time you have. If you're swamped with work, if you've got a lot going on in your life, which Lord knows a lot of us do, if you're busy playing video games or watching other shows that you know you're gonna like, maybe skip this one or just read the recap of what happened. But if you're nose in, if you're head first, whatever, into the Marvel sphere, check it out. I mean, I feel like if you're asking me, because this is the real question, this is the question that I ask myself after every one of these shows. What ramifications will this have on the future of the MCU? I could see there being a tie-in with the Captain America movie coming out with Sam Wilson as the lead. And of course, we know for a fact that Nick Fury is in the Marvels film. So there are possibly some connective tissue situations there, but overall, it didn't feel like it was really going to have that big of a ramification on the overall Marvel universe. It feels like you could probably skip this and just read a recap of it and you'll get what you need. And that's ultimately what I think the real downfall of the show was, is that they have all these cool concepts, these ideas of anybody could be a scroll and we're trying to figure out who's who. And I don't know if they really executed it to the best of their abilities. A lot of the show near the end kind of did become a mess, although not as bad as She-Hulk by any means. It's definitely an improvement over She-Hulk. But is anything going to get that bad? I don't know. But it still feels very cobbled together, and I won't lie to you, the finale does feel a bit rushed. It was short, and I did a review here on the channel. I have individual episode reactions on the channel, and now looking back on it after a couple of days have gone by where I've had a chance to kind of sit here and really think about it, it does kind of feel like a bit of a letdown. That definitely feels that way. I thought that the dramatic shift from it being an espionage show to a comic book story a little too quickly kind of hurt the show, even though obviously it is Marvel Comics. It could have been executed a bit better and done with a different kind of tone. And while I did enjoy what some of the Nick Fury backstory, because there was a lot of backstory and character development for Nick Fury, I did enjoy some of that. It just wasn't enough for me to sit here and warrant a thumbs up. Now, to be honest with you, I think the real problem with this has to do with whether or not these shows are worth staying up till 3 in the morning to watch. Over here on the East Coast, the shows come on at 3 a.m., and a lot of channels do their reviews right after. Most of the time, I've been able to do that, although I did miss a day or two this show. And I'm just not sure if they are anymore, y'all. Like, I'm just not sure. With WandaVision, it was super intriguing. Same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. We had that, that new car smell. But once that smell sort of goes away, what do we have left with? Ultimately, I still think that Low Key was the best show because not only does it actually have major ramifications on the movies and on the upcoming Avengers films, but it actually sets them up. Low Key might be the most important Disney Plus show ever because it literally sets up Phase 4, 5, and 6 and introduces Kang the Conqueror as the villain in that show. And can you skip it? You don't really want to. You really don't want to. With this show, though, I do kind of feel like it's not that great. Now, going into some spoiler stuff here, the death, last warning, the death of Talos or whatever, little bit unexpected, but at the same time, so many characters die on this show, and it turns out they're not really dead, that it kind of, was weird. Now, with Maria Hill, I was obviously speculating at the beginning of the series whether or not she actually did die, or if it was a scroll, or maybe she faked her death. But no, she actually did die. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is that I thought about the death, and I'm like, you know what? That character has run its course. It's fine to kill her off now. There's nothing wrong with that. However, why didn't they acknowledge that in the last season? Why didn't they? And if you're wondering why this matters, I like the idea of bookending the season the way it started. We saw the beginning of the season with her dying, and it ended with just Nick Fury and Priscilla or whatever going off into space together. And I was hoping for at least a mention of Maria Hill. Also, the president's behavior at the end of the series seems really, really weird. It's almost like, and I know this is not the case, but it's almost like they just did a dramatic twist of the character. I thought more about that as time had gone on. And I'll be honest with you, I have not talked to anybody about this. I haven't talked to my friends about it. To be honest with you, people are not talking about this show. Remember how when WandaVision was around, or low key, everyone was giving their opinions on it? In my circle, and I'm in the nerd sphere, nobody's even talking about it. And that's not a good sign. It's one thing if people are like angry at it, like with, She-Hulk or whatever the case may be, Hawkeye. But with this, people aren't even talking about it. And that's actually worse, because what that means is that people are not invested enough to care. And when people don't care, that's bad. And when you have Sam Jackson, who's been there since Iron Man 1, when you have Samuel L. Jackson attached to a project and it doesn't make people care, that means we have a major issue here. And I do think the issue is the overabundance of shows. The new car smell wore off a long time ago. And if I go back and watch those early Disney Plus shows, with the exception of Low Key now with hindsight, am I really going to enjoy them that much? I liked WandaVision. A lot of that had to do with the fact that I was a big fan of the sitcoms they were making fun of. So I got to really appreciate those little parodies and those little Easter eggs. But is that really worth going back and seeing again? I think it'll probably be fine for somebody like me, but a lot of folks aren't never going to go back to watch it, because ultimately all it does is build up Doctor Strange, and in the movie they really don't acknowledge what she did in that show that much. Couple of things here and there, like her kids, but that's it. With this, granted, we haven't seen the last of the Skrulls. I think we're going to get more Skrull stuff later on, and if they do a season 2 of this, I will watch it, because while it was interesting enough to watch, it was interesting enough to get into, it's not interesting enough to really like love and to dissect and to go back and watch again and again and again. It's just not one of those things. Whereas you have these great movies like Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home, and that's just Winter Soldier, Iron Man 1 and 2, and not even 2 that much. Iron Man 1, Guardians 1, where they're so well made and so much fun that you can go back and watch them at any point. It's like comfort food. None of these shows are comfort food for me, yo. Low Key's the closest one, because not only is Tom Hiddleston a great actor, and he did a great job in that. Owen Wilson's phenomenal, right? No argument there. But the show actually has ramifications. There are too many Disney Plus Marvel shows. And I know they're doing it because they want to keep people signed up for Disney Plus, but people are going to sign out anyways and not use it if they don't care. I don't know what the number is of people who have signed up or canceled their accounts. I don't have that information in front of me. But really, it's not, I don't think that having too many bad shows is a good thing. I think having a lot of good shows is fine, or having less shows but most of them are good is a better strategy. Less is more. You know what I mean? Less is more. And I do feel like it's an overabundance of content. I felt like Gravik, the actor was trying way too hard, I think. I think maybe he was surrounded by all these great actors and thought he had to really push it, and he became a Saturday morning cartoon villain in the end. I thought Gaia was a decent character, but I thought Emilia Clarke was kind of wasted, to be honest. She almost phoned in her performance. Both Ben Mendelsohn and Sam Jackson did good, but they didn't do great, and you know they're capable of great. And that British character, I forget her name, she went from being kind of interesting early in the show to kind of being annoying by the end. You know, they have to be careful with some of these characters, man. So the show's not without its flaws. Also, one thing about this show in comparison to other Marvel shows is that it really didn't have that much dynamic directing. Like a lot of the shots in the show are people having conversations, which while some of the conversations are interesting, I don't know if it really wastes its time, which I did appreciate, by the way. That is very appreciated. There's not a lot you can cut out, and that's good. That is not a complaint. Let me tell you, it's a good thing. It still sort of could have used maybe a bit more sizzle. It had a lot of steak and not enough sizzle, and it's kind of hard to balance that. You know, and I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. Obviously, if you have a movie that's sizzle and no steak, that's going to suck. A lot of that was the problem with Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder had these incredible effects and all that, and this, you know, beautiful looking movie, right? And you have some very good looking villains, being both, you know, Natalie Portman's attractive, obviously. A lot of women like Chris Hemsworth, right? I mean, they're obviously attractive, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is like the movie looks good, like it's got some good filmmaking in it, right? The problem was it wasted Christian Bale and didn't really satisfy fans enough. And I feel very similar with Secret Invasion that I did with Thor. I don't think Secret Invasion sucks. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a complete waste of time and annoying, and like She-Hulk felt like a waste of time. And remember, I was one of the guys that enjoyed the first half. I did like the beginning of it. Then that finale was horrible, bro. That was just embarrassing. But with this show, the finale was not embarrassing, but it was also very underwhelming. And the build up to it, while decent, was just not that interesting. It did feel like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it felt like taking the Captain Marvel movie and removing Carol Danvers, essentially removing the one thing people hated about that movie, which was her. That was one of the main things people hated about it. And just having a longer story and having Gaia sort of be the female protagonist, but she's far too often just sitting there looking confused. Like, there were so many scenes of Emilia Clarke just being confused, yo. Like, she had this look on her face like, okay, like throughout the whole show. I don't know if y'all noticed that. Did it feel like a waste of time? Sometimes it did, you know, but at the same time, I kind of do respect the fact that, and it's weird. It's a weird thing to review because, and I want y'all to try to understand where I'm coming from. While I did want more content and more, I wanted some more stakes in the finale, I also appreciated the fact that the episodes were not super long either, filled with filler. Like, I thought the editing for these shows, when it comes to cutting out crap that didn't matter, was pretty effective, I would say. It just felt kind of like more like mid-Marvel, like mid-tier than like upper tier. You know what I mean? It felt like they could have done better, maybe added an episode to really flesh things out, or just rewritten the entire thing with bigger stakes. And there were some big stakes here. I mean, the whole idea that Gravik had about replacing the world leaders with Skrulls, I like that idea. I genuinely do like it. But then the ending where like the president becomes kind of prejudiced against them as if they're all bad, like that's so weird. And it's also so, I don't know, it felt like a different character. Like there were some writing problems here. I did feel that. Overall, this show was not worth staying up for, and to be honest with you, sometimes when I would stay up, it wouldn't be because of me purposely staying up. A lot of it would be happenstance. I'd be sitting here working or editing, or I just can't sleep because I drank too much coffee or whatever. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. It just is what it is. So I'm like, hey, it's, you know, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Why not watch the show, do a review, right? It's not like I was purposely staying up for it, but I feel like from now on, I don't know if any of these shows are going to be worth staying up for, including Daredevil. And I'm only saying that not because I don't like Daredevil, because we know the Netflix shows were great. I say that because with Disney's writing team, dude, I mean, obviously there'll be different writers for that show, but I just don't know if it's going to really capture the magic of the original. You know what? If the first episode is a banger, then maybe I'll stay up for that one. But these other shows, bro, especially like I mentioned before, the Agatha show and the Echo show, I have no desire to watch them, dude. I might start watching another show like Succession, which everybody's been putting over to me, or even going back and finishing Breaking Bad. I never got to finish Breaking Bad, y'all. And I know some of y'all are like, what? What? Go back and finish it now. I know. And I got to catch up to Cobra Kai. Like, there's a lot of shows that I need to catch up on that we know are better than this one. So if you have a lot on your plate, man, Marvel is not making me super excited to watch these shows. We'll see what happens. Anyways, y'all, take care. Have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow for my review of Mutant Mayhem. I was going to review that new horror movie that came out today, but I set my alarm wrong and didn't wake up in time. So I guess I'm going to go see it next week. Anyways, take care.